So Matt, what's been up this last week? You watched the LSU game with the rest of us. Mm-hmm. You were tweeting about it. I do want to get into a bit here.
I guess one of the main things I saw from an offensive perspective, and I did tweet about that, was the lack of adjustment to kind of a untraditional defense that was being thrown at him. I mean, it was the defenses that was coming at him was very exotic blitzes. Not something you usually see in first game of the season. I think we talked about it in was it the Saints game versus the Ravens, where the Ravens were throwing walk around exotic blitzes. Yeah, that's what LSU was seeing, and what really looked like to me was you went against a team that looked like it had been together for going on 4 years now.
Yeah, definitely
running a system versus a team that had all new coordinators.
Yeah, that was definitely felt.
Which is not expected. Nobody expected the outcome of this game. I was laughing at the Vegas line. I was like, this is this is a bet of a lifetime.
I think a lot of us were. It definitely taught me a lesson about not fading Vegas too hard. Also, to say 14-17, like I was saying, when Vegas is going 2.5 in the future, even if I'm thinking in my head, I'll probably just go 7. Right? I'll probably just keep it closer to that line because. Yeah. They always know, man. They always you may get him. You may get him once every 10, 20 times, but for the most part, they're gonna have that range better than you are.
Yeah. So early in the week, it was 3.5, and I was like, they're gonna beat him at 20. But I'll still buy the half point. I'm just gonna buy that half point, just in case.
So explain this. This is the tweet that I was talking about. Takes a few. Yeah. So I said, it looks like Max is really selling on this drive. You responded saying. Takes a few drives to figure out that their defense is trash and they can only have success with unsound blitzes.
Okay, trash was a bit strong, but unsound blitzes is exactly what it is, and it's unsound for a reason because you're trying to create chaos.
Yeah.
But when you have success with it, there's no reason to stop. So they were bringing it from different directions, and the thing that was different about, and I'll get into why the unsoundness and everything, but why I keep going back to, or why I said that. It looked like one team had been together for 3 or 4 years, one team had not, was because there was no miscommunication with UCLA.
No.
LSU was motioning, and it's hard when you have exotic blitzes to adjust from one side to the left side. So if you're bringing will-free safety on one side and they motion, then all of a sudden you got to go to Sam Strong safety.
Yeah.
And there was no hesitation. They looked like they had been working these exotic blitzes for years, and that's what you get. You don't get any miscommunication. And you saw it with LSU, looking around on defense, trying to get the call, not understanding, the look is not what we scripted in practice. Let's look around and make sure we're on the same page. UCLA knew they were on the same page. The reason why they're unsound is because you brought a number 4 blitzer, which number 4 blitzer is a DB. Right. So it's a safety or a corner. Yeah. You brought a number 4 blitzer, a delayed blitzer every time. And delayed blitz is hard to pick up because it goes against all your rules.
Yep.
Because the receivers don't run hot unless they're blitzing immediately. Yeah. And I think LSU's trying to do some hot peaks. I call them like peak routes. So if somebody comes off your face or you see a number 4 blitzer off your face, you peek at the quarterback, and he can throw it to you.
They hit that a couple of times.
Yeah. Some teams do peaks. Some teams do hot routes. So at LSU, Jimbo likes to do hot routes. So if you do the point and all that stuff, then you run 3 steps and out. But the peaks is what we did a lot in the league, and it's great because you peak, and if you're hot, and then if you don't get the ball, you just keep running your route, whether it's a corner or a post or an end, whatever it is. But it causes chaos because it goes against your blitzes, but it leaves huge holes in the defense. You just can't cover everybody.
Yeah, and you saw that. I mean, the plays were there to be hit.
Yeah, and so you're bringing 4 from one side, 4 from a left side, and 1 from the right side. I mean, you're just doing these overloaded blitz. And offensive line, they just looked like their head was at a blender.
And they also had their outside linebacker, 33, line up in different gaps almost every play, and he was delayed because he would twist or he would act like he's dropping back, and then he would come. He never really a handful of times he actually lined up on the end of line of scrimmage and came, and so they never really adjusted to that either.
Yeah, people like that, you have to, especially when they're running.
You got to count them, and they're in the count.
He's one of the 4 down.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if he comes or not.
Yeah.
Your linemen are looking at him. But they did. They would show one side and come to the other, and that's going to create hot. You're going to have to throw hot or throw quick, and you can't expect a line every single time to filter through 4 different people and pick it up, especially at the college level. You just can't do it. You have to get the ball out. You have to make adjustments. And I was disappointed in the lack of adjustments we made on offense from a play calling. And I say this because I wanted to see more 3 steps, more quick. More quick games, more wide receiver screens, stuff like that. Now, it's hard. It's easy for us to sit here and say that. But, again, a lot of times we had the right play call. We didn't get the ball out of our hand and it's hard. As a quarterback, it is hard, especially in a situation like that when they're bringing exotics. Because first of all, you got to figure out where the blitz is coming from, and then after you get hit a few times, you also got to figure out if your line's adjusting to it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have to throw it hot because you know that corner's going to be there because the defense is so unsound. It's just a lack of. It feels like they saw those blitzes for the first time on Saturday.
And I don't think they ever imagined that they were going to bring 5-6 guys almost every play. I mean,
who does?
Shouldn't they have kind of known it, though? Because I know you said they only did it in tight formations against Hawaii, but they were getting after Hawaii in that same way.
I didn't see as much cover 0, though. I mean, they were playing some 0 in this game.
Yeah, no, and I think Seth Galina's film breakdown as well, he kind of talked about how this feels like a game plan that UCLA had fine-tuned for like months and months and months to like Matt said, because the communication was flawless. But I guess I am a bit surprised that they wouldn't have expected somebody like, if I'm going against an inexperienced quarterback like Max, and if I think that I'm going to struggle to hang with their skill positions, then this sort of all-out attack, and whatever, maybe I'm just using hindsight, but we did say it last week, this sort of all-out attacking style does – it makes a lot of sense to at least try it. Yeah. Like maybe you get burned. Maybe Max hits Trey Palmer on that one over the middle, and it ends up being a huge touchdown, and they force you out of it. But like
that's the thing is, so their defensive game plan was when I was watching it and I was making the tweets and everything, I was like, of course they're gonna. It's fine. This looks like a very scripted and a very well thought out first 15 plays by the defense. The first 15 by the offense.
Like you lost the initial joust. Like you lost the game plan initial joust.
Now you settle in and start running your real stuff, your core stuff, but they had so much success with it, they just kept doing it. And to get them out of that, I heard y'all talking about it yesterday. You either got to punch them in the mouth. So you hit them once or twice, they don't bring the blitzes anymore unless it's third down.
Yep.
They're bringing them. They're bringing first, second, third. I mean, good Lord. It's like that doesn't happen. It's just it's very unsound because we could have put up 60 on them.
Yes. Yeah, no, they were leaving themselves open to these massive counter punches, but it was always like one reason or another you just couldn't get it.
We just didn't. And all these things are fixable. Like that, there's nothing. I don't come away from the game saying, "Holy crap, we suck and we can't fix this." All these things are uber fixable. Like there wasn't many physical things that I was like, okay, we're not going to be able to get it done. Now, what sucks about it is in college football and the expectations that LSU always has is it really fixable with expectations? But it's fixable on the field. I mean, we could go out and still win 8 games. I mean, it's going to be hard, but you could still do it. Because it's all fixable. It's all mental. Like they've seen it. The offensive line, we've had so many offensive line issues leading up to the season starting. We've all talked about it. We saw it in the scrimmage, just people rotating in and out, not being hadn't been a lot of continuity. You can't pick up exotic blitzes without continuity on the offensive line.
I actually came away from this. I mean, the offensive line wasn't good, but like you said, a lot of times they were like delayed, and these are things that maybe the quarterback has to beat kind of on his own. Where I'm most worried was in the rushing attack and the run blocking, and really just the lack of like any creative run plays. I mean, what was your take on how LSU ran the ball? Because me and Jacob talked about this a lot. It was just like zone left and zone right. And that was
I think this had the classic look of coaches, especially new coaches, having too long to prepare for a game, and they overthought it. Like, because I heard Coach O talk about it yesterday. We have five or six core runs.
Yeah.
And that's normal. You have your core runs, then you sprinkle in like different things that other people have had success with. But then you keep watching it, and you keep preparing, and then you have too many looks versus the scout team that didn't work or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, we know that if they're gonna adjust, when we motion here, they're gonna go from a 3-tech on the left to a 1 technique, and then this run shouldn't be that good against it. I think they might have overthought it.
Yeah.
And then you just abandon what you do.
Is that why you think you saw Max so many times early in the game? I mean, he's changing it seemed like the play, the protection, or the run like 3 times. They go up to the line, change it, they're changing it. So he comes back and he's changing it. And then he's snapping it on, 2. The play clock's got 2 on it, and he's doing the clap. Well, they were teeing off on that clap. They were timing that up, knowing that he was coming to try. Is that what you're saying? Like, you had so much up and you had so many adjustments that you're making those adjustments at the line, when in fact, like, you just got to go with what you see.
Well, was it on y'all's show or was it on his press conference? Yeah, I listened to both, by the way.
Wow,
football guy.
My brain is like
prepared. He is.
Hey, football season, baby.
Like,
Let's
no
go.
notes, no laptop. He's ready.
So he said that they got to take less off Max's plate at one of them.
I
think that was us.
Yeah. It was either here or he probably got repeated in both.
And that has a lot to do with it.
Just go with us.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've been on teams where they put so damn much on the quarterback in the run game that you have to spend 80% of your time studying run game instead of studying beating somebody on 3rd down. And I'm hoping that's what they're talking. I don't want to take anything off Max.
Are you talking about Jimbo Fisher?
No, I'm talking about no, I'm not talking about Jimbo. Like, I look back at college offenses and I was like, oh god, so easy back in college, like learning this.
We thought Jimbo's was tough at the time,
for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping they're taking it off of him on a run game perspective instead of a pass game perspective.
I'll say this: trying to check into the perfect run ain't doing anything anyway, so it's almost like wasted effort. Like, just run it, and it can't be any worse.
That's the classic first game. Sometimes what happens is you just have to know you can't always have the perfect play called offensively or defensively. That's what you saw with UCLA. They called their stuff. They had no hesitation, and they ran it. They knew that if they didn't hit home, it was going to be a touchdown, but they did it. You can't always be in the perfect play. Sometimes you're going to have to run a zone to a 3 technique. You're just going to have to do it.
That's what we were talking before. Like, even like those run adjustments, I know you have to call it out because it's college football, it's not the NFL. But with a veteran offensive line like they had in that game, like, if you're adjusting off the 3 technique, like, everyone on the offense that's involved in the run game should know the play just based off the look. And then Max should say one quick, whatever that word is, Kansas, and then ask for the ball. But it didn't seem like that. It seemed like he was having to try to place everybody in that position. So to your point, like, sometimes you just got to get up there and you got to run the football.
I've said this 1,000 times. I hate the clap. I hate the clap.
A lot of people hate the clap.
So many people do the clap.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think people for hundreds of years have hated the clap.
It's just it's plague.
Yeah, I know it was a huge problem in Vietnam.
It's a societal thing.
It was certainly an issue in World War II as well. The Korean War. So yeah, there's been a lot of that. Well, look, we can discuss the clap and more next here. I still have other questions about the game. This is, I think, what I want to do.
I love it.
So we got Would You Rather Wednesday, but I want everybody to get them in the chat. I'll start to log them. I don't think I want to go there quite yet. We might hold off a little bit and keep picking Flynn's brain because it's always fun.
A lot of dust and cobwebs up there.
Yeah, but I mean, the football. Once you start to once you manage to open that little football box back there, it's very tantalizing. Also, I love whoever said find someone who stares at you the way that Jake stares at Matt. It truly is.
Aww.
Just a beautiful sight to behold. These two love each other. Matt, how did you feel about it? Felt like to me, too, once the pressure started to come, that one of the adjustments they did make was to just start holding the back end more. And a lot of times it felt like when they would hold him in, that he might pick somebody up, but then pressure was still getting through from somewhere else, or he was kind of being wasted standing back there trying to help out with the 4. Did you? I guess how did you feel about that?
They got into a big because they couldn't decipher where it was coming pre-snap, which is, again, it's nearly impossible to decipher it every time. you would think you can guess every now and then and get it, get a few of them right. But you get into a scan and a duel and a fan duel situation where it's lineman or fan in it, but they're trying to read, they're trying to decipher where it's coming, and then the back is in just a full field. Scan.
He was literally just like hanging out looking for anything to leak through.
I mean, there was one time where we fanned to the left side. They brought like 4 people off the left, and the left guard, he was, he couldn't decipher who to pick up. So I think he ended up trying to go out to his guy, but then got distracted by a backer, and then the back had to pick up a defensive lineman. It's just they brought a lot. I mean, they were
so I guess my question is, would it have been better at that point to, like you said, just you're almost just like guessing or shooting in the dark, just let the back be a little dump off and whatever, maybe you get tackled at the line of scrimmage or for like -1 yards or 1 yard, but like what are you doing?
Yeah, if you scat the back out, so if you go 5-man protection and do some quick stuff. I love the quick game versus defenses like that. Jake and I were talking about also, like, most of those times, not every time, but most of the times when they're bringing exotic blitzes like that, you're one-on-one on the outside, just give your guy a shot.
Just throw it up.
Even if it's not completed, you at least scare the other team.
And what's going
and you
through
had
your
the
head
advantage there too.
Yeah,
there was no corner that was better than Keyshawn.
If they know, if the other team even knows you have the advantage and you throw an incomplete, it at least plants the seed in the back of their head.
Well, and so they had the one deep shot that's the only one really I'm remembering off the top of my head.
They threw 2 passes over 20 yards, didn't complete either one of them, but through the air.
Yeah, they had the one deep shot to Keyshawn there on the left left sideline, and it went out of bounds. Right, like it wasn't even there was no chance for him to catch it. If you're the quarterback in that situation, you got one-on-one on the outside. You got your number one guy that you trust. What is what's going through your head as you're making that decision? Like, you got to be thinking just even if it's underthrown, just throw it up somewhere where he can fight for it.
Yeah, so the reason why it's hard, and Jake was talking about the Clemson with Joe Burrow, like Clemson had success early, and then Joe Burrow just figured it out.
Wow, you have been listening to the show, huh? Right?
No, he just told me like 3 minutes ago.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Fresh in the old brain.
We were talking about it.
Okay, I was very surprised.
He does listen a lot because if I say something, he texts me. Typically.
Okay.
Well, I drive like 30 minutes every day, so
look at that.
A minute. So they weren't bringing. Obviously, they're bringing different blitzes the other day.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're bringing zone blitzes. All right, so we used to call this like F strong dog, or maybe it was strong dog F, something like that, and the F stood for 4. So a strong dog is Mike and Sam, and you blitz and they drop the backside in, and you're rushing 5. Most zone blitzes are rushing 5, which is the 5 offensive line. It's just hard to decipher, and they're usually dropping an end.
Yeah.
When you throw an F in there, that means 4. That stands for 4. They're only bringing 4, but they're still bringing random people. So what you saw was they dropped defensive linemen and defensive ends into coverage, which, again, is not sound, but it creates chaos. And what you can do on the back end of that is you're not always one-on-one on the outside. You're not always pressed. You can still run cover 3. You can still run cover 2. Cover 2 versus an F blitz sucks as a quarter. Like, it's not – I mean, it's hard to decipher. Again,
so you're saying you can't necessarily know pre-snap that there is no safety help over the top?
Yes, you can if you are a very experienced quarterback, which it's – again, it's really hard. Like in college, if I would have gone against this, I would have, I don't know. I would just take off running. I don't know. I don't know. Like Jimbo's old, points. Like I was like, both those guys plus 2 more were coming off that side. It's like,
Well, and it seemed like they also knew. It seemed like they had something with LSU where I don't know if they deciphered some of their protection rules, but they were definitely doing a good job of influencing him to slide one way and then obviously dropping that side and bringing it from the other side.
Yep. And it's hard. We were also talking about this. We were saying the coordinators have an NFL background, and you come to college, it's like, oh, they should be able to know how to pick this up. I'm sure they do. It's hard to teach all of that in a short amount of time. That's why you get better and better and better as you go. And again, UCLA looked like they'd been together for 3 or 4 years. Chip Kelly comes from the NFL. They went to college, the NFL, and back, but they've had multiple years. They've sucked the last few years, and they're good squad.
So try to condense it for me, because it's just through this conversation, you are, I think I am gaining a further appreciation for the game plan that UCLA put together and how they were able to attack LSU and kind of confuse them, even though it was so unsound. It was a well-crafted, unsound. Knowing that you're dealing with college kids, knowing that you're dealing with inexperienced college kids, like you said, a line that is being constantly rotating through players, a quarterback that's only in the third start of his career. What do you think? Like what would have been the simplest, okay, we're going to try this, and it's not going to work every time, but I think it can work enough where we'll be successful. Like, what would you have done if you were in that coordinator role?
And just to hit on, I don't think UCLA's game plan was unsound. All blitzes, in theory, have unsound.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But they just did it every time. So there was unsound. I mean, everything. So, and the more exotic you get, the more unsound that.
Well, yeah, like cover zero, right? It's kind of the definition of unsound.
Right? Yeah, that's why you see Trey Palmer was by himself, and Max could have found him, because UCLA was taking that chance that they could get to Max before he could find Trey Palmer.
But that's the risk reward you take with blitzing. They just did it every time. So eventually you're like, okay, we got to hit.
I try to think which coordinator in the NFL, help me out here, was like the king of cover zero, and he would just
Buddy
do it
Ryan,
all
maybe?
the time. No, it was one of it.
I mean, the Ryan family made their life off of just blitzing, right?
Rob Ryan.
Yeah, that's the entire Ryan family.
When he was with the Raiders,
their life
you're exactly
off of,
right.
Yeah, they love
with the Raiders. They 35% of the game they played cover zero, which is insane.
Yeah, in that league.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And now
that's why
we beat
good,
them.
right?
We beat them like 45-3, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's what they were going to do. Mm-hmm. And to your point,
wait, they did that to Peyton and PR?
Yes, Philip at the time. Yeah,
I mean, that seems
but to your point, if you're in the NFL and you've been together a while and you expect it to come, if you pick up cover zero or game plan off of it, there's going to be a lot of guys running by themselves. But if you're not ready for it, you don't expect the team to do it. You've got a young player that can't get you in the right protection, and you can't adjust to it. It can be a hell of a thing.
So what do you think? Like, what would have been the simplest thing that you could have done?
An easy adjustment is to dedicate 5 numbers on the defensive line and say those are the 5 down. Okay. I don't care where they are. You slide to them. But again, the easier said than done if you haven't worked that.
Yeah.
So say, hey, number 33, he's down. I don't care. Running back, don't even look at 33. Offensive line, you got him every time. 3-step drops and screens, wide receiver screens. Call runs and don't check them. Because if they're showing blitz, run into the blitz. But they're also showing that they're showing from one side, coming from the other.
Yeah, so maybe it works out. And also, like, again, I don't think the rushing game could have gone worse. So it wouldn't have mattered. Like, you run into the teeth of a blitz, whatever, it wasn't making any difference. You weren't having success.
You weren't getting pushed on the gas.
I just wanted
exactly. So like your best chance would be them dropping, and then you get pushed automatically.
And I really just wanted to get the ball in somebody's hand, like really fast. Like we used to have the play that kind of caught fire in the NFL was you just throw it to number 2, he runs a flat, and number 1 blocks.
Yeah.
Just the wide receiver just blocks this guy, and it's a quick ball out of the hand.
Yeah. And they did it a couple times and had success. They had the running back in the slot. They I don't know if it was a motion or a shift. I can't remember on the play. They get the running back in the slot. They get the receiver number 1, obviously on the outside. The running back, because he's a running back, he's limited, but he ran into the flats, caught it, receiver blocked, and he picked up 12 yards or first down.
And that's the thing when people also, when you do wide receiver screens and you get 3-4 yards, people think that's a bad play.
It's a run play.
It's a run play.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great play.
That's why Trey Palmer had 7 catches. They knew they couldn't run the football. So they just started to have an extension of the run game, which was Trey Palmer, just turn around. We're going to throw it to you, see if you can make one guy miss.
Yeah.
Because if you make one guy miss, it turns into 11 yards. But you're right. It's a 4-yard completion every time with what they were doing.
Now 2nd and 6. But, again, all this is everything that we've talked about is completely fixable. You got our coordinators calling plays for the first time and saw a very prepared UCLA football team that was moving fast.
Well, yeah, and it definitely felt like, especially UCLA versus their offense versus the defense, that felt like an old stalwart kind of expert play caller, offensive coordinator Chip Kelly going against a guy who was calling a game for the first time in
we were
a dozen years.
We were we were blocking the whole game and they were punching the whole game. Right?
Yes. That's the analogy I keep using. It definitely felt like early on you were kind of parrying them, you're feeling good about yourself, but really UCLA was just fact finding. They were just learning how you responded to things. So last one here, and then we'll move on to get to what you're going to say next. What did you think about what Chip Kelly and the UCLA offense did to LSU's defense?
I thought it was pretty it was really good. I was trying to think of a cool word to say. Like, that would make me sound like but it was
like
good.
Spectacular?
It was good.
Stupendous?
No, he
tremendous?
No, it was what they did was keep him off balance. They kept them guessing, and it kept LSU's defense. It looked like they just couldn't always get the communication down in time. And so what happens then, you're blocking and you're not punching. So you're not aggressive at the point of attack. Of course, it was disappointing to see them run the ball like they did. That little running back looked good though for UCLA.
Charbonnet, dude, him and Brown.
And then in the first quarter, the announcers kept talking about the offensive line for UCLA, how they've been together for 4 years. I was like, shut up, no one cares. And I was like, yeah, they do care because those offensive linemen look like they all have been roommates for like 4 years.
You could that's the thing that I kept going back to and looking at the 2-0 lines play and the drastic contrast. Cohesion is the word I kept going to. Like, the UCLA line. I always use the fist analogy, right? Like a perfect O-line functions like your hand. Like each finger has full control. They work in concert or works together, and LSU's did not have that feeling at all. Well, UCLA's definitely did. All right, well, this has probably been the most football-heavy flestering that we've ever done, so I guess we'll take a little shower, reset here, and we'll get into a little Would You Rather Wednesday on OTB.